Happy Tuesday! Today we're going to talk about my tips on how to find you the best hostel for your situation during your travels. So let's begin. First things first, don't let people scare you about staying in hostels. I know when I first started traveling, people were like, oh, you're staying in hostels? Have you seen the movie Hostel? It's nothing like the movie Hostel. You don't have to be scared. You're not gonna get axe murdered in the middle of the night. Hostels are just a smart, cheap way to travel and usually a great way to meet people. It's usually social settings. They have dorm rooms that are relatively cheaper and great for solo travelers or for couples or for big groups of people. So don't be scared about staying in hostels. My first tip is don't book hostels too far in advance because that just cuts down on your flexibility. Sometimes if you book hostels for your whole trip, you'll show up and you won't necessarily like the hostel and then you'll want to leave, but then you'll have to lose all that money. It's just really smart to not book in advance. The exception to that is if you are staying somewhere because of a big event and you know that things will book up in advance because of the event, then yes, you should book in advance because otherwise you might not have a place to sleep. The only other exception for booking in advance is I usually like to book at least one night when I am arriving into a new location where I'm not going to be familiar with the area, so that once I step off the bus or the train or the plane, I know exactly where I'm headed to. I don't have to think about it. It's all said and done. I can just show up, put my bags away, and then I can go explore and see if I still want to stay at the place that I booked or if I want to move on to a different hostel.
Also, if you are enjoying this video, please like the video and subscribe to my channel because I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
So that tip kind of takes us to our next tip, which I say that you should always only book one night, except for if it's an event. And that is because you want to be able to check out the hostel, see if you really like it before you book multiple nights, so that if you show up and you don't like it, you don't lose money by leaving the hostel. And if you do stay one night and you really love the hostel, there's usually a way for you to extend your stay. And basically those tips are so that you can maximize freedom and flexibility. Another good practice for booking a hostel is you should know your purpose for staying in the hostel. So some people's purposes is they want to go to a hostel and they want to party and they want to meet a bunch of people. So that's what you should be looking for, is a party hostel with a social setting. Some people are tired and they want to have a quiet night in, so you should not stay at a party hostel. Another thing you could be looking for is maybe you need to do laundry, so you should see if they have a laundry facility. Or another thing is maybe you're looking to get a shuttle to the airport the next day, so that's what you should be looking for. Are you trying to sightsee? If you are, then make sure that you are staying at a hostel that has public transportation close by, or maybe right directly in the city center so that you can walk everywhere. So always know what your main purpose is staying in that location and book your hostel based off that purpose. Another tip is you should know where your hostel is location-wise. So usually when you go and search for hostels, it will say this many miles or kilometers from the city center. Sometimes for me, with location, I will pay a little bit more to be in walking distance of everything, even though I'm a really cheap person, because if you're not in the area of where you're trying to go all the time, then you're going to be continuing to pay for public transportation, and maybe that will end up being a little more than if you just forked up a little bit more money to stay near the city center. Another helpful thing when booking your hostel is on the website you can usually sort from what you're looking for. So if you're looking for the cheapest price, then you can usually sort by price. That's usually what I go from. And then also I check out the highest reviewed but lowest price option. But maybe you have a little bit more money and you're looking to stay at a higher rated hostel or something that is closer to the city center. All of these are usually filter or sorting options within the search engine that you're looking at. Another tip for booking a good hostel is you'll want to make note of the dorm size if you are going to sleep in a dorm. It's usually written out pretty specifically, so it shouldn't be a problem for you to find out this information, but just make note that some dorms are a lot bigger than other dorms and to choose whatever you are looking for. Another thing I would definitely do when booking a hostel is to please read the reviews, because you can avoid getting yourself into hostels that you may not want to stay in. If you read the reviews, it sheds a lot more light on what the hostel is going to be like. One prime example of this is one time I stayed at a hostel and I didn't read the reviews, and I stayed there and I woke up and I got bed bugs. And then the next day I decided to read the reviews, and they specifically had people say that they also stayed there and had gotten bed bugs. So if I would have read the reviews, then I wouldn't have gotten the bed bugs. So always read the reviews because they really help out. But also try to be aware that there are some people that have super high expectations of hostels that they probably will never be met, because hostels are not going to be this glitzy glamour, or they're not going to necessarily have the most delicious breakfast, or you're going to get what you pay for. So sometimes people will leave really bad reviews when usually the place is not that bad. So just try to be aware of that as well. Another tip for booking hostels is getting recommendations from other travelers that have already been to that location that you're going to go to. Just always talk to people. Oh, I'm going to this place next. And they're like, oh, I've already been there. Then you can just say, where did you stay? How was it like? Where do you recommend me staying at? People, word of mouth is the best way to find what you're looking for.
So what websites do I use?
So there's many websites that you can use, but the main ones that I tend to use are hostelworld.com, booking.com, and hostelbookers.com. Through whatever search engine or website you use, they should tell you whether you have booked it and paid for it online completely, or if you just made the reservation and you're going to pay at the hostel, and in what currency they allow payments in. So maybe sometimes they will allow you to pay in your home currency, or maybe you need to pay in the currency of whatever country you're in. So make sure to make note of that. It's usually sent in an email, or whenever you book it, it tells you. So just pay attention so that you're prepared. Also, another tip is sometimes on Tripadvisor you can get even more information about the hostels that you're looking at staying at. So you can always head on over to there to see more information. So those are my tips for booking hostels, and now I'll get into recommendations of what I believe you should do when you are staying at hostels. So the first one is please be considerate if you're staying in a dorm. Don't be super loud in the middle of the night or turning off on and on all the lights when other people are sleeping. Just be considerate of the people around you. If you are one of those people that have expensive items that you're traveling with that you are a little nervous about keeping in dorms, then get yourself a lock and only book hostels that have lockers, or you can lock it in your backpack or whatever, but get yourself a lock if you're going to be nervous about staying in these hostel environments. Another obvious one, hopefully for you fine people, is please be nice to the staff and the people that work at the hostel, because they usually are pretty underpaid, or a lot of the time they're volunteers. You don't have to be mean to people, just be nice and kind. They're probably doing the best that they can to accommodate you, so just be understanding and don't be mean. Finally, once you're done staying at the hostel, it would be really awesome if you can also pay it forward and leave them a review, whether it was a good stay or a bad stay. It definitely helps out other travelers if you leave them reviews. Alright, well that's all I have for you today. I hope that Travel Tip Tuesday allows you to book the best hostels for your travels. Please see the links in the description below if you are interested in watching any more of my travel tips or my interviews on this channel, Be an Outsider, as well as I have a course that I've created to help you travel more, making your travel dream a reality. So check it below. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to get the word out, and I really appreciate you watching it, and have a magical day.